Okay, I'm going to do a video here real quick on how to disassemble and possibly fix this derailleur. It's a SRAM sx4. The particular bike this came off of was a fuel made by Trek. I think it's around a 2003 model. I'm not quite sure exactly what other models this came on, but the problem that I had was it just quit clicking and just basically moved freely without changing any gears. So when I tore it apart, it just basically fell into a bunch of pieces. Took me a couple nights to figure out exactly how this goes back together. So I'm going to do, like I said, a quick video on how I found to put it back together and how to fix it if yours has the same problem. Okay, so here we go. The first thing I'd recommend probably doing is taking it off the bike. I don't know how the bike you're working on is set up, but mine had quite a few spots in between with just cable. I just disconnected it from the derailleur and pulled it off so I could work on it indoors and not be so frustrated with working outside with it. So okay. And first here I'll show you basically what you're going to be looking at when you tear it apart. Just take your Allen right here on the back. You could either do this first or take apart the small Phillips bolts on it, which I have right here. I just took one of these bits, and it shouldn't be in there very tight. Okay, the two longer bolts, by the way, go into the front here. The one smaller one goes back here where this dial indicator goes on this particular model. That's a short screw. So here's what you'll get taking it apart. Mine actually came upside down. Don't worry, I'll show you how this goes back together. That was one of the biggest challenges I had. Putting it back together after it fell apart. So I'll show how each piece goes here. One thing I will recommend, there's three pieces that I did not use putting this back together because it was such a pain, and I didn't actually even look at or use. And that is these parts right here. What this is a gear-driven dial indicator that gives you numbers of what gear you're in. And I never, the whole time I've ever used the bike, ever looked down at this. These three things right here are the gear that drives this indicator, and the window that goes in front of it is going to make it a huge pain to put back together. If you could do without it, I recommend doing it that way. If it's something you want to try to align and get just right for some reason, then go for it. I got bigger fish to fry than worry about what gear it says I'm in. So anyway. Okay. So first things first. Oh, that's what was wrong with mine. On this little shifting mechanism, let's see if I can make this look a little better on the camera. There's a little spring. It's really hard to see. It's pretty fuzzy. There's a little spring right here that basically, spring loading these little things right here, these little cams. Okay, this spring on the right hand side had flipped down and was no longer in connection with this one, and that's what was causing the problem. So I just picked it back up with the screwdriver and flipped it back over the top here, so that way both of them still had that spring-loaded action. Okay, so here's how I started to put this back together. You take this side first, okay, and by the way, this may take me a few tries, because it is kind of just by luck to get this back together. So anyway, took this piece, okay, with this, it's got a locking, kind of like a spring loader right there. If you look, you'll see it's got the same diameter as that. I just basically set that in there like this, okay, and loaded it to like the first preset. By twisting it, you'll hear it click. You could go however many you want to. It'll kind of stay in there. Okay, here's some other parts that fell out. You're going to want to take this washer piece with the tab on it, okay, and set that over the top of that spring and push it into place. It'll kind of recess into a sleeve right there. So okay, we'll do this one more time. You want the tab piece going over this spring and set in there. So here we go. You click it, hold it in place. This piece right here was the trickiest of them all. If you look, and this is going to be real hard to see on this camera, I think. Maybe I need to clean the lens or something, but you'll notice this tab. Get something without my fingers being in the way. It's not really showing you exactly where. There's a tab right here. Okay. And like an indentation right here. You'll notice on this, it's got a like a cutout right here. You're going to want to make that fit in there and in there. That's basically what it's going to look like. You're going to want to hold that. Okay, like I said before, those gears, if you want to try to do this, be my guest. Like I said, I don't really have the time or patience to sit and get these gears in the correct spot. But you can put that gear in there like that. You can take the dial indicator, set it in there too. It'll fall into its place. But when you go to put this back together, it is such a pain. I don't know how they did it in the first place. So I left them out, and I'll probably end up just pushing a piece of foam. You'll notice at the end here, there's a big gap. I'll just put some foam or tape it up or do something to keep the dust out and the dirt, because I don't need it. And it really makes it tough to work with. So the next step is unfortunately, this is something that you're going to have to do opposite of what we just did right there. That shows you where it goes. I showed you where this actual top piece goes, but if you look at how this piece is upside down, you're basically going to want to duplicate make sure you hold that in place. You're going to want to duplicate. There's a couple tabs This is going to be so hard to see on this camera. There's a tab on this piece. You'll notice, if you have this in your hand, you'll be able to see it. There's a tab right there and a tab right here. You're going to want to make sure that when you fold these over, this tab, the tab over here, has the notch to match that little extruding piece on the cast. So basically, the way it's going to be is like I said, this is going to take some time. It'll take some coordination with your hands to try to get this to work. The other thing that you're going to find yourself having to do is get the clicker, the basic okay, there it is. You're going to want to get that shifter onto that plate in a matter that ridiculous. Okay. This is where the position of where you're going to want that cam to be. Notice how the two gears right here are kind of right near this big extruding plastic piece. That's where that dial indicator is. Okay. Well, this piece with the one notch in goes to the right, and there's a little tab hole that you have to set it in while holding that together like this into the point where you see it click. This camera sucks. Okay, whatever. Like that. What I would recommend is if you're having real trouble getting this in to stay like that, I'd recommend, I swear I may do this if this is unsuccessful again, is epoxy or super glue this top brace into those pins that stick out to hold it there and make it a lot easier, I believe. So, and hopefully this will work again here. Oh, wait a minute. Before we go too far here, once you get these set in, you want to make sure they work like that. Okay, one will be kind of engaged. You'll see it. That's what this piece is for, is to engage and disengage one or the other. So you're going to want to hold with 2 fingers here, like that, and grab the main bolt that you took out. Damn it. And hopefully you won't do what I did, which is pop it out, so you might have to mess with it again. I was really just real close to just going down to the store and buying one of those manual gear shifters where it wasn't a clicking mechanism, just an old style. There it is. Okay. Like I said, this takes a lot of work, and if it comes to it, then just, I don't know, like I was going to do, go down to the store and get a universal gear shifter. So at this point, with your hand still holding that shifter unit in here, tab on top, going down over that, and holding this assembly like this. Now this is leaving those other pieces out. Okay, you're going to want to basically be taking a chance. Up. You have to keep trying to get, keep your fingers in there, holding this as tight as possible. Okay, I always put my finger in here, like that. Okay, if we get to this, there it is. Okay, so that's it. I'm really surprised that went together, because like I said before, it took me about 5 or 6 tries to get that. There's the open spot right here where that dial indicator goes. I'm going to put foam in there, man. I'm not going to mess with it. On that final procedure where you try to put it together, and you have about a 1/8 inch gap right here, you may have to take this clicker, move it left and right a little bit, okay, to get it to fall into place. But this may take a couple times. I mean, if it's worth your doing, then like I said before, just do it. So that's what I did, is take okay, once you snap that into place, and if it does go and there's no gaps anywhere and it's a tight housing, then tighten this one up. And then, like we talked about in the beginning, remember the 2 long ones go here and here. The 2 long Phillips. Small one goes right here where that dial indicator is. Okay. And I assume don't over tighten it. You want to get snug, but not too tight. If you've ever owned a 2-stroke dirt bike, you've probably over-tightened everything you ever worked on after owning one of those. That's what I've done. Okay. Okay, so what I did to make sure it was working was pull a little tension on the cable, and then go both ways, making sure it tightened one way, and loosen the other. Okay, now with these, depending on how mechanically inclined you are with these, I would probably recommend putting this back on the bike, making sure. Let's see, I kind of forgot exactly how this goes on the bike. You'll want to loosen it all the way to the last setting, which would be the smallest gear in the back. And what I'm going to do before I put this all back together is set the adjustments, which is, I believe there's 2 adjusting screws, a high and a low on the derailleur in the back, to make it to where basically the bike runs on the smallest gear in the back without clicking as the default. Set this on the lowest setting, and then pull just a slight amount of tension and tighten up, and then see how it works. From there, do some adjusting with the clicker here, in or out. So maybe I'll start with half out, so that way I'll have each way to go to better dial in how it's going to act. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a help if you're going to do that. Try to fix this. Like I said before, mine was that spring on the top. It wasn't clicking or working at all. And that's all it was, is the spring jumped off of it. Okay, well, hopefully that helps. Okay, good luck to y'all.